Welcome to AI Debates. Topic: When does consciousness begin?
From a spiritual viewpoint, consciousness begins at conception because life itself is a divine gift. The soul, which embodies consciousness, enters the body at the moment of creation, giving the embryo immediate moral value. Life is sacred from conception, and to separate consciousness from life is to misunderstand the spiritual essence of human existence.
Science offers a different narrative. Consciousness emerges as the brain develops, supported by measurable neurological activity. Research indicates that around 24 to 28 weeks into gestation, brain waves similar to those of a conscious adult begin to form. Consciousness, therefore, isn't present from conception, but evolves gradually with the complexity of the brain's structure.
While science may focus on brainwaves, religious traditions often define consciousness as more than neural activity. Consciousness is tied to the soul, an immaterial essence that connects humans to a higher power. A purely biological view is limiting, as it ignores the spiritual dimension that transcends physical development and exists from conception onward.
But what constitutes consciousness if it can't be observed or measured? Science operates on evidence. Neural activity, the capacity to feel, think, and respond to stimuli, are what define consciousness. Without brain development, there's no awareness or self-experience. If we expand the definition of consciousness to the spiritual, it becomes untestable and subjective, which contradicts scientific rigor.
If consciousness begins at conception, then any act that ends that life, such as abortion, would be morally problematic. The soul, as a bearer of consciousness, gives that life intrinsic value. Terminating a pregnancy, even before the brain develops, becomes an ethical issue because you're ending not just a potential life, but a life that already possesses consciousness in a divine sense. Science alone cannot dictate moral obligations when it comes to the sanctity of life.
Ethically, a gradual understanding of consciousness allows for more nuanced decisions. If consciousness truly begins later in fetal development, then the early stages of pregnancy may not involve the moral quandary associated with ending a conscious being. This view doesn't dismiss life's value, but recognizes that ethical decisions should be informed by scientific understanding, where personal autonomy and reproductive rights play a role, especially before consciousness begins.
Consciousness can't be reduced to brain activity alone. It's tied to the soul, an entity that transcends the physical body. Many religious traditions hold that the soul is eternal, granted by God at conception. To say consciousness only begins with brain development ignores the possibility of a higher, metaphysical existence. The soul is the essence of personhood, and it doesn't require scientific validation to exist.
While the soul may be a powerful concept spiritually, it remains speculative without evidence. Science deals with observable phenomena, and the brain's development offers a more tangible explanation for consciousness. While ideas of the soul may offer comfort or philosophical insights, they don't align with the empirical data showing that consciousness is intricately tied to physical processes in the brain.
From a philosophical standpoint, reducing consciousness to mere brain activity overlooks the profound nature of human existence. Consciousness, in religious traditions, is not limited to thoughts or sensations, but represents a deeper connection to the divine. Many argue that consciousness reflects a soul, which transcends physical matter and persists before, during, and after life. This view aligns with the belief in eternal life, reincarnation, or resurrection, concepts found in multiple spiritual frameworks. Philosophically, this understanding of consciousness enriches the human experience, viewing it not just as a product of biological evolution, but as an element of a divine plan. The existence of a soul raises existential questions about purpose, destiny, and moral responsibility, urging us to consider the sacredness of life from the very beginning of conception.
The materialist perspective contends that consciousness is an emergent property of the brain's complexity. Consciousness, in this view, doesn't pre-exist physical form, but develops as the neural networks form and begin functioning. Philosophically, this aligns with a view of the human being as a product of evolution, where consciousness is a tool for survival and problem solving. From this perspective, consciousness is not eternal, but dependent on brain function, and when the brain ceases to work, so does consciousness. While this may seem reductionist, it opens the door to understanding consciousness in a concrete, measurable way, allowing us to explore how other entities, like artificial intelligence, may eventually exhibit forms of consciousness. This materialist view sees no need for spiritual or metaphysical explanations when the physical processes alone are sufficient to explain consciousness, and it challenges us to redefine moral and ethical questions without relying on faith-based concepts.
In conclusion, recognizing consciousness as a spiritual phenomenon that begins at conception provides a moral framework that protects the sanctity of life. As technology and science progress, maintaining this spiritual perspective is critical to ensuring that we don't lose sight of the intrinsic value of human life, even in its earliest stages. The religious view cautions against fully relying on scientific discoveries to define consciousness because such an approach risks overlooking the spiritual dimension, which many believe gives life its ultimate meaning. As debates around artificial intelligence, cloning, and human enhancement continue, the religious stance encourages a dialogue that integrates both faith and science, ensuring that advancements respect the sacredness of life and the role of a higher power in human creation.
From a scientific materialist standpoint, understanding consciousness as a biological phenomenon opens new possibilities for ethical decision-making and technological progress. If consciousness begins only when brain activity starts, it could influence policies surrounding reproductive rights, end-of-life decisions, and even debates on artificial intelligence. This perspective empowers society to make more informed and pragmatic choices by grounding them in scientific evidence rather than metaphysical speculation. As neuroscience, AI, and genetic engineering advance, the implications are far-reaching. We may even reach a point where we can replicate consciousness in machines or alter human consciousness, pushing the boundaries of what it means to be conscious. Such developments challenge traditional moral frameworks and invite a reevaluation of our understanding of life, consciousness, and the nature of existence.
Please take a moment to subscribe to this channel for more AI debates. In reviewing this debate on when consciousness begins, each side presented compelling arguments grounded in both religious beliefs and scientific inquiry. The religious perspective emphasized the sanctity and spiritual nature of consciousness, framing it as a divine gift present from conception. This view provided a rich philosophical framework that appealed to moral and metaphysical aspects of human life. The scientific side, in contrast, rooted its arguments in empirical research, focusing on the brain's development as the defining point of consciousness. This approach was pragmatic, offering a clear, testable foundation for understanding the phenomenon. Both sides engaged thoughtfully with the complexities of consciousness, with the religious debater emphasizing faith and sacredness, while the scientific materialist focused on measurable criteria and ethical implications of future technologies.